March Madness topics. So, who are some prospects in March Madness? This year's weird because 4 of the top 5 picks projected aren't in March Madness. When you're looking at Victor, Scoot, and the Thompson twins, and Cam Whitmore as well, he's not in March Madness. But who are some of the guys who really stand out to y'all? Zach, you let me know.
Well, I mean, we just saw it last night, and with Houston's big win to move on to the Sweet 16, I have Houston to win the national championship. I'm doing pretty good in March Madness, by the way. I'm second in my money league right now. I got Houston winning it, but he had like 6 blocks yesterday or something. I mean, I don't know what his offense is going to be at the NBA level. I think he's a really talented, like 6'8", massive dude who has a nice handle and can stretch the floor. I think that's a nice you know physical appearance to have with the talent he has. And I think he can be like a 15 plus per game scorer in basketball. But I think where his real strength is his versatility and what he can do on the defensive end. And he showed that against Auburn. Marcus Sasser for Houston looked good. He's a first round pick type guy. And then for
Mm-hmm.
Duke, Duke had an early exit, but I liked what I saw from Tariq Whitehead. I wish I got to see more of him. Kyle Filipowski in the ACC tournament mainly, and then he had some March Madness moments as well. He looks like a double-double machine in the NBA potentially. I think that guy is making a lottery talent type push.
Kelly Olynyk, that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah. And then you got like I'm not low. I'm not high on this player. I'm sure he's gonna get some draft hype because of it. I just saw some stuff on social media and how this should really boost his stock. But like Oscar Tshiebwe at Kentucky, he broke the March Madness record for rebounds. I'm not very high on the dude. He's a 6'8" center that doesn't move me on defense, and he's not going to rebound like that at the NBA level, and he can't stretch the floor. I don't know if I draft him in any round, but he's definitely somebody that I think stock probably moved up because of that, and I don't really agree with it fully, but
I
yeah,
feel
those
like
are
the ACC is kind of rude.
maybe kind of
His rebounding is freakish. Like, it's
yeah.
freakish. I disagree. I think his rebounding will be fine in the NBA, but I think it's the switchability stuff and the lack of offensive skills stuff. That's the main question.
Yeah, I don't know if you use a draft pick on that unless it's like the right team,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
What team
sure.
really badly needs rebounding? The Nets. The Nets could take him.
Yeah, that's good use him.
And also, there's always one thing I always like kind of underestimate. Like, a lot of the time, if you just have one elite skill in the NBA, there's at least a role for you. Like for Oscar, like I can see him being maybe it's not like a 20-minute per game guy, but like, a situational role player in the NBA because what he does is he rebounds the ball. And I don't care. Like we've had amazing 6'8" rebounders in the NBA. He can rebound. And I trust that. But yeah, there's a decent amount of guys who stand out. I think obviously the first one is Brandon Miller. Like Brandon Miller is probably going to be the third pick. I think if Detroit wanted him and they had the second pick, I would just trade back to 3. Like he feels like a really good third pick, and he had a really horrid start to March Madness. He dropped 0 in his first game. Awful look.
He did get hurt though in that game.
Yeah, but he did drop 0 and he
Yeah.
played 19 minutes, and he was 5 for 25 in the previous 2 games before that. He played better yesterday. He did play better yesterday, and I think Arkansas is a draft hub this year. I look at Anthony Black, who I really like. I don't
Locked
think
up
he's
Grady
ever.
Dick.
He did. Even though I don't think what's his wingspan? I don't think he has much length.
I'll look it up.
He doesn't look like somebody who has much length on the defensive end, but he's got a really good feel. He plays hard, and he just got better throughout his freshman season. Jarace Walker, he's a really good player. I really like him. I do question sometimes because he doesn't have like the most fluid hips. Will he be as switchable in the NBA as he is in college? Do question that a little bit, but he's got a really good defensive feel. He's a good connective passer. He's got really good touch from his floater and finishing through contact. He's built like an explosive Julius Randle, Isaiah Stewart hybrid. It's really weird, really intriguing. And we talked about it before the show. Nick Smith Jr., I'm not very high on simply because I don't value players who are specialized as scorers who don't pressure the rim. That just usually means microwave, low consistency. Granted, he has been dealing with injuries this year, but I don't trust that skill set necessarily. And, Grady Dick, I don't look much into the struggles in March Madness. He's not number one regardless, but he is super high energy. He can really hit shots off screens. Good defender, things of that nature. I like Cason Wallace a lot. I think for some reason we always underestimate Kentucky guards, and they always do better than people think. I think he's going to follow that. Chris Murray just got knocked out.
He's a different type of Kentucky guard, though.
He is, but he does have a lot of that. Like, he does have like a bigger Davion Mitchell thing to me. Like, he's got to be my top right now. Like, he's 6'5", and he does a lot of the Davion Mitchell things. So that's intriguing. So there's a lot of guys. Didn't mention Derek Lively. I really like him. He reminds me of a modern Marcus Camby because he knows he doesn't do much on offense. Like, he can roll once in a while. He can hit a shot once in a while. But he is just coming in on the defensive end and just effing stuff up. He is just switching everywhere. He is going to alter every shot around the rim. He's a madman on defense, and that is super valuable. So there's a lot of guys to look at throughout the draft. And not a lot of guys in March Madness who will be at the top of this year's draft, but there are guys from top to bottom who are intriguing. I really like Ricky Council from Arkansas too. He's one of those guys, like, he passes the eye test for me, and I don't really know how to describe it. He just passes the eye test. Terrence Shannon Jr., high energy defender. I think he's been a late second round pick for like 4 years in a row. So there's a lot of guys to look at.
One player for me, we talked about, you alluded to him before the show, Jalen Hood-Schifino out of Indiana, Pittsburgh's very own. He's got an in-between game as a 6'6" combo guard. He's a freshman. His numbers haven't quite been there. Neither is the scoring efficiency. But when you get a young guard who's already developed, the in-between game can hit the three and has that touch to score inside the arc, that's the type of player who at the next level is a versatile offensive guy. He's not relying on pull-up shooting. He's not relying on games to the rim. He can do a little bit of everything. And so as a late lottery pick, look out for Hood-Schifino out of Indiana. I think his skill set, 35 versus Purdue earlier, and I think it was March or late February, can translate very well at the next level, given he's 6'6", has a good quick first step, has really good feel, can manipulate defenders, good around screens. That, to me, is the ideal second or third guard at the next level.
One of my friends on Instagram, Hoop Journal, had him as his fourth prospect in the draft. So he really likes him. So, yeah, we'll see there. It's really intriguing for sure.
I like his game a lot, to be honest with you. I would take him before maybe hot take. I'd take him before Nick Smith. That hot take?
That's a crazy take. I think when you look at the NBA, players like Nick Smith have to be like really darn great to be really valuable. And that's the hard thing about it, because you got to be like flipping like Jordan Poole is like the aspirational guy of that archetype, but Jordan Poole puts way more pressure on the rim than Nick Smith does. And is Jordan Poole a top 70 player in the NBA?
This year, no. But last year, yeah. Last year, top 50 probably.
I did my top 100 players on Twitter the other day. I think I had him 82. So, it's one of those archetypes. It's hard to pick apart. Like, I'm taking the 3-and-D guy over that most days.
Are we missing anybody else? I feel like there's one prospect. Taylor Hendricks out of UCF. What do you guys think?
Hendricks, yep.
I'm seeing some people put him in the top 10, the top 7. What do you guys think about his game? I haven't watched much of him.
I like him a lot. I think he's the closest player that, I've talked about it already, and I'm a Timberwolves fan, so, I've seen a lot of it already, but I think he's a similar Jaden McDaniels type. I think it's almost same frame. I think he's a little bigger than McDaniels was at the college level, and he's got a similar play style where he's a really nice shooter, but can't really create shots for himself and others at this point in his career. But on the defensive end, he can do like everything for you. He can protect the rim super well. He can guard the perimeter. And I think he could definitely be a lottery pick. And I think he could go as high, as maybe a top 10 pick to the right team if they really need that type of archetype, a 3-and-D type of defender that can do everything for you and that has upside to develop more offensively. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
he's a really nice player.
he's in the NIT right now, so he's not playing in March Madness, but yeah, he's intriguing, man. I love lengthy and just like lengthy, quick defenders who can kind of go all over the place. And he's got a little bit of offensive stuff in him. I don't think he's quite as dynamic as Jaden naturally, but that is a similar comparison. Yeah, he's a guy I can see going lottery because that type of archetype tends to do well in the NBA. And Hendricks has been just exceptional, taking a big leap this year. So he is definitely somebody to look out for.
As
Keontae George.
Oh, sorry. As real quick,
Keontae George is also really good. So
yeah, we forgot to mention him.
Do you guys think Keontae George has real star upside? Because I've seen people compare him to Bradley Beal and Malik Beasley. Is he somewhere in between? Is he close to one of those 2 points?
He's got more playmaking stuff than Beasley does, for sure.
Yeah.
And, it's an interesting case because on the right day when you watch him, he looks like an offensive juggernaut. And in other days, you see the lack of physical pop and he struggles to create efficient shots and he takes really bad shots. I don't think I think he's a tier 3 type of guy. Like somebody I'd probably take at around the 10 spot, 8 to 10 spot, just because, I don't think he's naturally a great space creator. So his efficiency's taken a hit in college because he's the number 1 guy at Baylor. So, I think he's a really good prospect. I think as a tertiary guy, his efficiency will go way up in the NBA. So, but his connective playmaking stuff is way ahead of Beasley for sure. He can really pass in the pick and roll.
Yeah, my last big board that I did, it was a while ago though. I wouldn't have him this high, but I had him number 5, and I'd probably have him more like number 6 or 7 now. But he's just such a big time shot maker and creator, in my opinion. I think he can score on all 3 levels better than a Beasley can. Beasley's mainly just the 3-point shooter, but he's a legit secondary creator to me as well. I think he's gonna have some insane moments as an off-ball shooter in the NBA. And he had pretty good statistical numbers when it came to finishing at the rim. Where I don't like the parts about him is, and I was so confused how Baylor allowed him to do this year. His shots like horrible, and I think his numbers would be a lot higher if his selection wasn't as bad as it is, because you watch him play and he's taking like these garbage 3-point shots multiple feet behind the 3-point line. Like I don't know if he's prepping for the NBA or something. But it's weird for me that a team as good as Baylor and as good as a coaching staff as I think Baylor has to allow him to do this. Maybe they think I don't know. I don't really get it, but if he finds a way to take better shots and, I think he's a nice defender. I don't think he's bad on that end. I think he can help you at the NBA level at some point, not right away, but at some point. I think he's closer to a top 5 prospect than he is to, somebody who's going to back end of the lottery.
Yeah, like I said, they need him to do that, and I think he struggles to create space. So he kind of has to take tough shots, which is why I don't look too much into his efficiency in college, because I think it will go up if he has another guy or two, like to take pressure off of him long term. So he's really good. I'll tell you this about the draft this year. I feel really good about my top 5 guys right now. I don't really see that changing. I think Victor's 1. I think Scoot's 2. I think Miller's 3. And I'm just going to go back and forth between Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, guys, oh my gosh.
Tough.
He's a talent. He's a talent, man.
His upside.
The closest thing to Anthony Edwards. The closest thing to Anthony Edwards.
I kind of compared him to Miles Bridges a little bit.
Oh, he's got way more on-ball creation stuff. Like a lot of his like side steps, step backs. I think the effortless like flick he does with his 3-pointer. He's got an effortless jumper, and he just has a lot of on-ball stuff that's really intriguing. Like I said, I think he's a lot like Anthony Edwards. We'll see probably a diet version, because I don't think he has quite the first step pop Edwards does, but he's got the frame. He can finish through contact. He's got really good feet. He can create space with side steps, step backs. I think his jumper is going to get better and better in the NBA. He's good, man. I think he's a 2 and 3. He's listed as a power forward on Tankathon. I really think he's a 3 in the NBA. So he's interesting. There's an avenue for him to be the second best player in 2021 or 2023.
My comp for him would be like an Aaron Gordon, but with insane self-creation tools.
So if Aaron Gordon lived up to expectations. Now,
Yeah.
I compared him to Miles in terms of his physicals. They're identical. And also, real quick, hot take, but I think Brandon Miller is the clear number 2 prospect in this class. Scoot Henderson hasn't developed as a shooter. His playmaking leaves a lot to be desired.
His
as
shooting's
well.
got better this year. 38% from 3.
38%?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it was in one specific category at 27%. Okay, because mid-range game is there. Personally, I think Brandon Miller has a wing that can shoot at an elite level while having more and more on the ball. That could be Paul George, Jason Tatum. Like the pathway to him getting there is not going to take a whole lot of. Like, it's not going to surprise you if he becomes Paul George because of that skill set he's shown so early at Alabama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Brandon Miller's really good. I think he is easily the worst athlete of those 3. I'll say that. I think he doesn't have naturally as much muscle mass, and he doesn't have the same physical pop. So that is something to look out for. He's also going to be – he's an older rookie coming in next year. So he's a really old freshman. I think he's going to be 21 as a rookie. So he's definitely on the older side, and I don't think he has quite that pop, but he's really good. He's really good. He is comfortably number 3 for me. I think Scoot Henderson, he has a tenacity about him that I really buy into. And being he's 6'1" probably, but he's got a 6'10" wingspan. He's crazy explosive. His feel for the game is rapidly improving. I think his jumper is going to be fine. I think I don't think he's a number 1 in most years like other people claim, but I think he is comfortably a number 2 guy.
Yeah, I think what really separates him for me is I believe in his ability to create for others as well. He was a +6 assist guy for the G League Ignite. But with that G League Ignite team, I think Henderson would have looked a lot better if that team around him was better, because that G League Ignite team sucks, and he's the only reason why that team won any games this year, it feels like. I mean, just when he's collapsing to the rim, I mean when he's going to the rim, every defender against G League Ignite is just collapsing on the dude because he has nobody around him, and I think that's what lowered Henderson's finishing numbers. Even though he was okay finishing the rim, I think it was like 62%. I think that would have been a lot higher if he didn't have all these guys attacking him all the time. But I really believe in him as, a 20 game per guy scorer. And I think he's going to be one of the, better assists per game type guys. And I think he's going to be a plus defender as well. Whereas Brandon Miller, I think he's like a really good number 2 second option that's going to average like 25 a game.
25 is
no, like at his peak.